Coming up on Network Africa, Ghana plans on resuming its international flights by the 1st of September. Final year secondary school students in Nigeria begin their final exams. Plus, India sends technical equipment and a team of specialists to help authorities in Mauritius as the cleanup continues. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Layo Adegoke. There was a deadly blast in Somalia over the weekend. About 16 people died and over 20 others were injured. In the same vein, President Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa lifted lockdown restrictions as COVID-19 infections in the country appears to be reducing. Here's more details on stories and happenings that made headlines over the weekend.
Militants stormed a high-end seaside hotel in Mogadishu on Sunday, killing at least 7 people and injuring more than 20 in the second attack by Islamist insurgents on a highly fortified target in the Somali capital. Militants group Al-Shabaab claimed the attack on the lit hotel in Lido Beach, which started with a suicide car bombing before gunmen later battled security forces. Somalia has been embroiled in deadly violence since 1991, when clan warlords overthrew leader Siad Barre and then turned on each other.
Restrictions on the sale of tobacco will be lifted.
On Saturday, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa said that there are indications that the country had reached the peak of COVID-19 infections, as he announced a sweeping removal of lockdown restrictions on the economy. In a televised address, Ramaphosa said that the government will end the ban on alcohol and tobacco, allow restaurants and taverns to return to normal business, subject to strict hygiene regulations, and remove the ban on travel between provinces.
The move to level 2 means that we can remove nearly all of the restrictions on the resumption of economic activity across most industries. Economic activity will be allowed with the necessary and appropriate stringent health protocols and safety precautions in place.
Despite imposing one of the world's toughest lockdowns when the country had only a few hundred cases, South Africa saw a surge in coronavirus infections that left it with the 5th highest number of cases in the world, currently around 579,000, of whom around 11,500 have died. Still, on Saturday, the stricken MV Wakashio in Mauritius broke apart after running aground and spilling tons of oil off the coast of Mauritius. The Mauritius National Crisis Committee said that the condition of the vessel worsened early on Saturday and it split by the afternoon. Satellite imagery captured the moment when the Japanese bulk carrier started to break apart. Images released by satellite company Maxar showed the damage on the vessel as oil spills were marked around the ship. The vessel struck a coral reef on July the 25th, spilling around 1,000 tons of fuel oil and endangering coral, fish and other marine life in what some scientists have called the country's worst ecological disaster.
Well, at least 17 people are now believed to have died following that siege at the beachside hotel in Somalia's capital, Mogadishu. Somali special forces say they have since ended the siege at the building that was stormed by armed Al-Shabaab militants. Somalia's president has blamed the militants for the attack, and Al-Shabaab has also claimed responsibility. Now, nearly 200 people were rescued from the 4-story hotel, and police say they killed those in the attack, including, I beg your pardon, police say that 2 government employees, 3 hotel security guards, and 4 civilians and other unidentified victims are casualties of this attack. The Elite Hotel is located in a heavily protected area of Mogadishu and is popular with politicians, businessmen, journalists, and civil society activists. Now, India has sent technical equipment and a team of specialists to Mauritius to help the local authorities. Tugboats have started dragging the detached part of the damaged vessel out to the open sea off the Mauritian coast. It's to prevent further contamination following the major spill of the ship's fuel. Several layers of containment booms and oil filters have also been installed in the vulnerable coastal sites. So far, 841 tons of fuel oil have been reclaimed and 419 tons of solid waste cleared from the contaminated coastlines and lagoons. Meanwhile, India has sent technical equipment and a team of specialists to the country to help local authorities. And according to Mauritian Vice Prime Minister Mohamed Ansar Husno, the oil spill has affected many areas and warns it will take a long time before the damage can be repaired.
The coastline on the southeast of the island. I mean, a lot of the beaches has been affected, as you know. You have visited as well. A lot of the beaches has been affected. I mean, the wildlife has been affected there. Because we have a lot of sensitive areas there. We have Blue Bay Marine Park. We have L'Île aux Aigrettes. We have other places which has been affected. They are very sensitive areas. So a lot of work that, again, that was discussed in the morning. How we are going to how we are going to cleanse it in the first place and then rehabilitate it over the months and years, because that's going to take a long time to get rid of the oil, but the rehabilitation is going to take quite a bit of time, and we have been discussing this with all the different experts from overseas.
Well, now Ghana is set to resume international flights by the 1st of September after a dip in active COVID-19 cases. President Nana Akufo-Addo says the resumption of international flights, however, will depend on the country's capacity to test all passengers arriving at its main airport for the virus. About 24,500 passengers arrive at the Kotoka International Airport every week. The authorities are now considering adopting a rapid testing system at the airport, with the Director General of Ghana Health Service saying a simulation exercise will be carried out this week. The country has recently recorded a significant reduction in the number of COVID-19 cases of 30.4 million people in the nation. So far, 427,121 COVID-19 tests have been conducted, with 42,532 positive cases and 231 deaths recorded. Well, Ghana now joins the list of several other African countries who have resumed international flights, including Kenya, Mali, Rwanda, Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire, Niger, Chad, Burkina Faso, and Togo. Oh, Joseph Akable, Joy News TV correspondent, joins us now for more details on this story. Hello, Joseph. Thank you for speaking to us.
Thanks for having me.
Now, what more can you tell us about the president's speech on Sunday, most notably the resumption of international flights?
And so the first is that the resumption is supposed to take off on September 1. But it's subject to certain conditions. The conditions being that they expect the health service and the Ghana Airport Company that runs the Kotoka International Airport, where we receive our international flights, to have a system in place of ensuring that all travelers are tested and the results are prompt before they are allowed to leave the airport. And so that presents some challenges in that, per data prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, we're recording daily flights of about 3,000 individuals coming in through the airport. And so that presents a major challenge that the president hopes that the health service and the airport company will be able to come out to the system of addressing that. And so once that plan is in place and he's satisfied with the plan, then come September 1, our borders will be open in terms of the airport.
Yeah, and September 1st is just a few weeks away. How prepared is Ghana to, receive foreigners? And does this mean everyone can come, especially those from high-risk countries?
And so the preparedness will be determined sometime this week when the simulation test that you made reference to in your introduction is carried out. That, we understand, will give the nation a fair sense of what measures it intends to put in place. Again, as to whether or not there will be limits placed, because initially when Ghana imposed certain ban, we actually banned countries that had cases exceeding 200. Now, there are lots of countries that have many cases, thousands of cases, including Ghana itself. And so that is also another thing that we are looking out for. And so in terms of the specifics, the first stage has to do with the trials that will be carried out later this week. And once that is done with, we'll know as to whether or not it will be a blanket lifting of the ban, or it will be a phased approach where you have countries that have a certain cases not being allowed into the country. But the aviation sector is one of the worst affected in the country, and we understand government is bent on ensuring that it opens it up if it has a plan in place that would ensure that we limit the spread and importation of the virus.
All right, Joseph, just before I let you go, here in Nigeria, secondary school final year students have resumed the West African final exam. Is this the same in Ghana, and what's the plan for the other levels of learning in the country?
And so first, the president allowed for schools to resume for the final year junior high school students as well as the senior high school students. And so they are also taking the WASI like it's happening in Nigeria currently. In terms of the other schools, there were some institutions, mainly some universities and some technical institutions, that they couldn't end the previous semester before COVID-19 took place. There were others who were able to end the semester using the online platforms, but those who couldn't end the semester, the president has directed that they resume school on August 24 to make use of the classroom space that is available due to the numbers not being available to complete their semester. He says once that is done, then we'll begin to have discussions about resuming school generally. And so now the aim is to ensure that those who are in final year complete and exit. Then also those who couldn't complete the previous semester, they are being asked to go back and finish with it. Then afterwards, he says an assessment will be done to see how fast the virus spread during this period of opening schools, and that will determine what form schools should be reopened going forward.
All right, Joseph Akable, Joy News TV correspondent, thank you so much for giving us those updates.
Pleasure having me.
Now, more than 1.5 million final year secondary school students in Nigeria are starting their final exams. The students have been back at school for the last 2 weeks, preparing after losing several months of learning from March to July because of the coronavirus restrictions that saw schools closed. School administrators say they have ensured social distancing to avoid the spread of the virus during the exams. Now, Nigeria has the highest number of candidates by far in Africa, with more than 1.5 million students in more than 19,000 schools.
As regards the COVID-19, you can say, one, when they came to the school, every day, right from there, we did their temperature, they'll wash their hands, we have the hand washing materials there, you sanitize them, provide sanitizer for their hands, then we observe the 2-meter distancing. And this morning also when they came, we repeated the same thing. If you go into our exam hall, we have arranged our students there. Our policy here is that 30 minutes before the exam, every exam, the students should be ready. So we have arranged them as at 9 this morning. All of them have been arranged and they are seated, waiting for the exam.
Now, authorities in Rwanda's capital, Kigali, have closed 2 of its biggest markets for 7 days after a surge in coronavirus cases. The closure of Nyarugenge Market and Kwamutanga Market, the main wholesale market for fresh food in the city, takes effect on Monday. Now, the decision was announced on Sunday, just hours after the Health Ministry reported 101 new coronavirus cases in the country, including 80 cases recorded in the capital, Kigali. Rwanda has so far confirmed 2,453 cases and 8 deaths out of more than 300,000 tests conducted. And the country is the only sub-Saharan country whose residents are permitted to enter Europe's Schengen zone in the wake of the pandemic. You're watching Network Africa on Channels Television. Still ahead on the program. Welcome back to the program. South Africa's money managers are trying to maneuver the line between controlling ongoing risks and taking advantage of the significant opportunities that the volatility has presented to them. Mining is a critical cog in South Africa's already struggling economic machine, contributing 8% to overall GDP and bringing in 45% of foreign exchange earnings.
The COVID-19 pandemic and the subsequent lockdowns across the world have had significant implications for many listed companies on South Africa's Johannesburg Stock Exchange. The mining industry has seen affected companies like platinum producers such as Impala Platinum. Anglo American saw its total platinum group metals PGM production in South Africa drop in the first quarter of 2020.
So in South Africa, the impact has largely been from the start of the lockdown. So obviously in the lockdown period, we couldn't operate for the longest part. So that impact was, quite severe. And what we're seeing in South Africa now is that we are probably approaching peak infection rates. So obviously, that's impacting our business on a continuous basis. In Zimbabwe, we are starting to see numbers going up, but there we've largely been able to operate uninterrupted to date. But Zimbabwe is probably a little bit behind South Africa in terms of the spread of the virus and peak infection rates.
April then was the worst of the lot. Initially, the main problems were the actual measures for the lockdown, because we couldn't transport over borders because the borders were closed, especially chrome. Had a big issue there. There were some disruptions in rail and harbour capacity to Port Elizabeth. Saldanha could not only operate at half capacity. So it took a while for us to actually try and unblock those.
With the pandemic creating doubts over future demand, the development of new low-cost mines have been put on hold. The virus is accelerating that trend, dampening demand for the catalytic converters that are the target users of the metal.
For as far as the global economy is impacted and people are not able to manufacture and sell cars, it has a very severe impact on us because that impacts our market, what we sell into. And then secondary, our ability to continue operating and producing metal into that market.
Despite the general gloomy picture, this week seems to have brought some positive numbers for the metal.
So what you've seen in the platinum space is a lot of the companies have actually come in the last week and a half. They've come out with production rates and results, and the results have been really, really good. And that's basically because of the price of platinum has rushed up. So commodity stocks are really doing well. And if you look at the recovery of the JSE, it's basically it's primarily based on technology stocks and commodity stocks.
It's challenging times for the South African economy, and the government has limited fiscal room to help support business and consumers, according to experts. Investment decisions are still complicated because of an uncertain regulatory and policy environment. But on a more positive note, investors are keeping an eye on news about an imminent drop in South Africa's lockdown restrictions to level 2.
A murder suspect who killed himself in police custody in South Africa had confessed to the killings of several women in rural KwaZulu-Natal. That's according to the South Africa's Police Minister Becky Cele. Hundreds of community members had gathered outside the Muzumbe Magistrate Court on Monday, hoping to catch a glimpse of the suspects who were arrested for the murders of 5 women whose bodies had been found on a sugarcane farm between April and August. However, residents were angered when they were told that the main suspect killed himself in custody, with some even demanding to see his dead body as proof. Police minister addressed the crowd, telling them the suspect who killed himself had confessed to the crimes, while a second accused was beaten up by inmates. The minister also revealed that police believe there might be more women whose bodies have not yet been found. South Africa has for years been gripped with a wave of violence against women and girls. Now, the Egyptian parliament has approved a law that will protect the identity of women who come forward to report cases of sexual harassment or assault. The new law was proposed in July following a rare social media campaign in which a male student was accused of raping or harassing multiple women. He was later arrested. The case inspired many more women to come forward and share their experiences of violence and abuse that they had endured. Research suggests that abuse is widespread in Egypt, but it is believed that women often fear that if they file complaints, they blame themselves. Now, a lack of role models drove Kadjo Sambe to learn to surf and become Senegal's first female professional surfer. The Olympic hopeful is now inspiring a generation of young girls to defy cultural norms and hone their skills in the Atlantic waves off the capital, Dakar. Take a look.
Kadjo Sambe's passion for surfing led her to become Senegal's first female professional surfer. It all started when she would go kayaking off the coast of Dakar in her native Ngor, a fishing village in the Senegalese capital.
I would always see people go surfing, and I told myself, but where are the girls who surf? I thought, why don't I go surfing, represent my country, represent Africa, represent Senegal as a black girl, because I have never seen a black girl surfing.
In a region where women are expected to get married and stay at home, it took work to break with tradition. Her family held her back from surfing for 2.5 years. But after being discovered by Rhonda Harper, founder of the US-based Black Girl Surf, Sambe went to California in 2018 to train. She arrived without a cent in her pocket, speaking no English, and with a wild, free surf style that needed taming for competitions.
It's like trying to take a tornado, right, and put a rope around it and wrangle that thing down, because she's such a dynamic surfer that it's hard.
Sambe is now training young girls to surf at a camp in Yoff Beach.
Je suis tellement happy, fière. What I say to young girls who start surfing is that I always advise them not to listen to other people, to block their ears, concentrate, go straight ahead, focus on their training, not to listen to anybody. Because I went through this myself with people talking and I stopped surfing, which is why I started surfing a bit late.
Black Girl Surf has set up 4 schools in Africa, in Ghana, Liberia, Senegal and Sierra Leone, and working on a 5th one in Côte d'Ivoire. Sambe was looking forward to competing in the Tokyo Olympics until the competition was postponed. She says she will keep training for the Games and never give up on her dream.
Never give up on your dream. That's it on Network Africa for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Adegoke.